Russo. Thank you all for sticking around. So, want to bring up just a couple points, Kim, that you brought up. Passcodes, fingerprints, background checks. To my understanding, both of these shooters passed their background checks. And as I mentioned, one of them, I believe the Buffalo shooter, had a mental health evaluation and was considered fine. The one in Uvalde, no mental health evaluation. So whether or not these red flags would have worked, probably not if they're not on the radar, right? Another solution, though, being posed is increasing school security, also known as hardening schools. President Trump said in a speech at the NRA convention, this was Friday, that fences, metal detectors, and guards could stop these kinds of massacres. An elementary school target in Uvalde had all of these measures, though, but a staff member had apparently left the door open in the back. That's how the shooter entered. We still don't know why it was difficult for some of these officers to enter. Something else to note that didn't get a lot of coverage, this was an exclusive we mentioned last week from Breitbart, is that this school had been on lockdown apparently 48 times. 48 times as a result of police chases involving illegal immigrants. And as I was talking with Dr. Gina Loudon over the weekend, she kind of brought up the point, little boy cries wolf. I mean, maybe they weren't concerned. They're like, oh, here we go, another lockdown, probably nothing to worry about, but that's one of the measures that's being discussed. And I want you guys to think about that. But I also want to go back to, Carrie, what we were talking about, the shooter's personal life. Obviously, there are some huge issues here. Early reports mentioned a girl that he was talking to in Germany, that, he was saying he was going to do this, and then he did this, and now they're talking about there was video of him hurling dead cats and shooting strangers with BB guns, cutting himself, clearly all signs of a disturbed individual, but nobody did anything. And he was able to get these AR-15s. I don't think it matters what it was. I mean, some could argue it could have been pipe bombs. That's what happened at the Boston Marathon. But your thoughts on this? How does an individual do this and nobody say something? I mean, this is video he was posting on social media.
Well, we are such an isolated community. I mean, we have so much technology, right? We talk about using technology for other, for so many things. We have so much technology in communication per se, but we're not really communicating. It's not real person to person. And I think it's just easy to say, oh, somebody else will deal with that, right? Somebody will see it. It doesn't have to be me. But I mean, I'll tell you, Miranda, the other problem that we have back when Parkland happened, I have a large counseling center. We had a particular client that some of us in the center thought to ourselves, this could be a child that does something like this. And we looked into the laws of what can we do until they have it, until they say something pretty significant. There's not a lot we can do, which is good. We want to have that kind of confidentiality with clients, but
But Carrie, let me ask you this though. Let me ask you this because we are tight on time. But obviously we're going to continue to discuss this. But as I continue to think about, there is a kind of MO, right? I mean, this isn't, again, broken record, but it's not a 35-year-old woman that went in there. I mean, it's the same type of kid. We saw this in Columbine. It's like kind of loners. They play video games, a lot of them. They go to social media when social media is now existing. They talk about violence. They don't have a lot of friends. They talk about harming things. It seems kind of clear to me, and I'm not a mental health professional. You are, but these seem like,
right. It's clear, right? They are not connected. Our society is very, very disconnected, right? But not everyone who's disconnected is going to go in and do this, right? I mean, there's lots of kids who are loners and they don't end up going and shooting a school or doing anything wrong. But it wouldn't hurt. This is what I said. It wouldn't, if we changed the stigma of mental health, where mental health was just a standard, that this is something that we taught children, how, we could teach them how not to be loners or how to be connected. And again, this is a long process. It's not going to be tomorrow, but changing the stigma surrounding mental health so that people can ask for help long before they're to this state, like where he obviously was very, very ill, so long before that. And why people don't say something, Miranda, I don't know, but I know probably all of us in this room here and anybody listening has seen something that's concerned them and they haven't said something. We've all done it because if you don't want to be the tattletale either, right? We grow up like that. We don't want to be the one that So I just think it's a long, complex issue, but as a society, we all need to come together and connect, have more. I mean, it is about connection, right? How disconnected are we as a society? As much as we have.
Well, we are though, right? I mean,
Miranda,
social media, now people say things on social media they would never say to a person face to face. We've had lockdowns for a couple of years. We know that suicide is one of the highest among young people right now, and they're more likely to die by a gunshot, via suicide, an adult, I should say. It's second, though, for young people. It's alarming. And Rick, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, when I think about social media and then I hear about all these copycats, there's a disconnect.
there's definitely things to do. There's two different issues here. There's the cultural issues we need to work on, no doubt about it. But then there's the tactical and practical of the moment. Because even if we solve all the cultural issues, you still are going to have mass murder events. It's just going to happen. It's the nature of man, unfortunately. The biggest cultural issue to solve is to ignore the federal government's decision in Stone v. Graham and put the Ten Commandments back in schools and start teaching once again that there's a right and wrong, that there's good, you call good good, you call evil evil, you teach them it's wrong to kill, wrong to steal. That's insane that we took that stuff out of our schools. So that's the cultural issue that produces more of these types of events. But you're still going to have some of those events, which is why you need the tactical and the practical. And I love Ken, but all of the things that he listed are not going to solve the problem. They're not going to stop a dedicated killer. The only thing that's going to stop that dedicated killer, wolves prey on sheep. The only way you stop the wolf is with a sheepdog. The more sheepdogs we have in every restaurant, in every store, in every Walmart, in every school, on every hallway, and maybe in every classroom, when you have an armed, trained person to stop the threat, you will reduce the time for the killer, and we'll have more West Virginia stories where the only death was the bad guy.
They did apparently in Uvalde, though. I mean, to interrupt real quickly because of time, Rick, though, they did have supposedly a security officer, and he just wasn't there. We don't know why. We're waiting for the investigation to come out.
On the police to save the day here. The founding fathers didn't count on the police. They said you are responsible for defending you and your family. It's the responsibilities on the citizen here. Or you make sure that the employees, in this case teachers in stores, it should be store owners. Police can't be everywhere. That's a police state. We don't want that. And so we can't just blame the police for this incident. We have to recognize that when you prohibit, like Trudeau is doing, the right to keep and bear arms, as the founding fathers, Joseph Story, father of American jurisprudence, said, if you prohibit keeping and bearing arms under any color or pretext whatsoever, liberty, if not already annihilated, is on the brink of the destruction. That's the founders, okay? That's the father of American jurisprudence. We're not listening to history. We're not learning with common sense here. We're getting caught up in platitudes and these politicians that are doing exactly what Biden said they shouldn't do. They're lying for political gain, power, and profit.
But just practically, I'm a mom, and if I was a teacher and somebody gave me a gun, I promise the guy would not have gotten any farther, right? And I think every mom and teacher, and
well, it doesn't have to be every teacher. We train thousands of people. If you don't want to be trained and you don't want to be the sheepdog, that's fine. But you shouldn't. You should hope there would be a sheepdog close by. Wouldn't you want someone trained close by when the bad guy comes in?
I would want a sheepdog. Absolutely. I think we need lots and lots of sheepdogs.
Hold on, all of you, so our viewers can actually hear you. We're coming up against a commercial break, but I'm going to give you guys all a final thought. Ken, I know you're ready to jump in there, and I'm going to let you jump in there and respond to some of the comments that they were making when we return. Again, you're watching News On. We'll be right back.